for attending and being willing to give us an insight about the qualifications and your dreams for Redmond. The format today is basically we're giving each of the candidates an opportunity to take up to 4 minutes to talk about their agenda and anything else that they'd like to discuss. And once that is completed, then we'll have a time for Q&A. Probably won't have time for any wrap-up other than maybe a quick 30-second thank you. So with that, each of you had an opportunity to draw a number. And so I have no idea who got number 1. Ann? Okay. You got a microphone?
No, I think I can do it without a mic. So, thank you for having me and us. I think all of the candidates share a love for Redmond, so I'm going to go beyond that. And I'm going to share with you my background. Hopefully there's things in there that will resonate with you. I'm 61 years old. I'm a homeowner in Redmond. I have 2 boys and 2 grandkids who unfortunately don't live here. But I chose to come here after retiring from a long business career in high technology companies. I held a job that was basically that of a city manager, the analogous job, director of facilities. So I'm very conversant with budgets and capital projects and staff, managing staff, building things, big buildings, and the engineering, maintenance, things like public works are definitely what I have been responsible for. So I joined a year ago the Planning Commission, and I've been rapidly gaining knowledge about the city and the people and the fine staff that we have here. The Planning Commission just elected me the vice chair of the Planning Commission, even though I told them I don't know very much about the vice. Sorry, I practiced that line. In that work experience, and one of the things I really hope to add to the already good efforts that are happening in Redmond's economic development front, I have been lucky enough to be the person who was asked to go find a new site for manufacturing companies, some small, some large. And 4 or 5 times in my career I've had to go out and assess cities for a company. Sometimes as the direct employee, sometimes as the consultant. And in 2010, as a consultant for a small solar company, I actually came to Redmond. And the Reddy, it's one of the things that attracted me and brought me back to Redmond. Reddy, Roger Lee at the time, took me to lunch at Diego's, which is still my favorite place to eat. And I learned a lot about Redmond, Central Oregon, what some of the deficiencies for certain kinds of businesses are. I wasn't able to recommend it to my company, which was okay because they folded about 6 months later anyway. The solar startups, Solindra syndrome caught them. But I have since retired, but I do have a background I think would be very helpful in the coming growth that is coming to Redmond. In the Planning Commission, and certainly through the efforts of the City Council and other people, a large amount of land is about to be rezoned industrial, and there's significant interest in using that land with industrial companies. And I know that my background would be useful there. I think I can also expand somewhat the panel of companies that Business Oregon, Reddy, Edco look at to bring to Redmond. And my knowledge of their business, I think, would be very helpful. And I hope to be able to use that. Standing in a CEO's office, knowing their business and being an elected official from town is a very powerful influencer for the CEOs making those decisions. And that's one of the key things I hope to bring. I'm also a veteran. I enlisted during the Vietnam War, and I still support veterans' causes very strongly. And probably the final thing I will say that my husband thinks I retired a little early, and he wears a badge, a button like this, and it says, "Elect Ann Graham, please get her out of my hair."
Could you do number 2?
Yes.
Ed?
I don't think I need a microphone either. Anybody can't hear me? 5 years working in radio, you learn how to talk. Been in Central Oregon now for about 3 years. And first of all, I want to thank Kiwanis for having all of us here. It's organizations like Kiwanis and Rotary and all the civic-minded organizations that make a community great and that make Redmond pretty awesome in its own right. As I said, I moved to Redmond about 3 years ago. My wife and I decided that Nevada was not a good place to raise children, especially in the bigger towns, Reno and Las Vegas, where all the fun vices that come along with them. I knew of Central Oregon. We vacationed here as a family when I was a child, and when we came back, I didn't recognize Redmond. We intended to move to Bend because I knew what Bend was. I thought I knew what Bend was. It was completely different as well. And then a friend recommended Redmond to us. They had a house here, and we checked it out and fell in love right away with the people, the attitude of this community. Even though it's seen hard times, the community's kept its spirits up, and that's what's going to help us as we go forward. I wanted to give a rousing campaign speech like the presidential campaigns do, and I studied Barack Obama, and then when I get here I realized there's no teleprompters, so I'm kind of on to plan B. I don't have any background in government. I've campaigned for some senatorial campaigns in Nevada over the years. I did some volunteer work in Washington State growing up. My experience is in business, it's in marketing, it's in advertising. I own a business called Flying Squid Media. We handle small business marketing and PR. Not for anybody in this room, I don't think, but certainly for some small businesses around Redmond, Bend, and Sisters, as well as Portland. What I think I bring as a candidate to the city council is a common sense approach to how the city governs itself. I'm greatly concerned about the affordability of living here. That's one of the things that attracted me to this community. This is so much more affordable than anywhere else. And that doesn't mean I want to keep housing prices down and property values down. I'd love to see those go up so the assessed values go up with them and the city has more revenue to do the things it needs to do. What I mean by that is I want to make sure the city government, though, doesn't shoot itself in the foot in enacting policies that make it more difficult for people to choose Redmond over Bend or Sisters. And a great example of that, I think, is a battle that I picked with the council recently over a voluntary, who brought the cell phone? Yeah, over a voluntary water utility deposit for renters. And it was voluntary in the sense that the landlord. Sorry. It was voluntary in the sense that a landlord could choose whether a renter paid a $300 deposit for water service or not. And that was kind of something that shocked me and drove me to want to run for city council. A $300 deposit's a lot of money. When I got looking into it, it's more than twice as much as most communities around us charge on their mandatory deposits, which puts Redmond at a disadvantage. If I'm a renter looking to rent a commercial property or a home, and I do rent a home, and I see that and my landlord tells me, okay, yeah, you're going to have to pay this deposit, I'm going to go somewhere else. It's just, that's too much. When you're already looking at an average cost of $3,000 to move in. I'd like to make sure that Redmond keeps property taxes low, that we're not just raising property taxes just because we can, unless there's an actual economic or social impact that benefits everybody in Redmond. It doesn't just benefit a small city government project. As a small business owner, I look at regulation and I see, these things might not, some things might not be conducive to encouraging people to start small businesses here. I recently had a small business owner come to me that moved his business from California. He moved to Redmond, chose Redmond for the same reasons I did, hired people, created jobs here. And he came to me with a question about the city sign code. And I wasn't really familiar with the city sign code, but I looked into it. Our city code is a total of 294 pages, including the table of contents. The sign code part of it, the sign standards part of it, and fair enough, it deals with some billboards and things like that, is 10.5% of the city code. 31 pages relates to how you can sign your business, where you can put a sign, whether you can put a sign on the sidewalk, whether you can stick a sign in the ground. And this gentleman told me if he had known that just about getting a sign on his business, he wouldn't have chosen Redmond. I don't like to deal in the what if, but if he hadn't chose Redmond, that's 7 people now, and he's been open 3-4 months. 7 people now wouldn't have jobs here because of the sign. And that's what I want to do. I want to communicate with small business, large business, community members, and find out what is the city doing that might encumber or discourage you from doing business here, from growing your business here, from moving here, and make sure we remove this. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
I have notes. There's really nothing written on here. No, Joe Santani. Let me give you a little summary of my background as well. I am a CPA, certified public accountant. I've been doing that since '99. I got my education at Boise State in accounting, went to Willamette University over in Salem before that. Different background, long story, love to tell you if you're interested, but I've been through a lot of different things to get to this point. So I have a downtown business. My office is right down about a block away from City Hall, and been in that location since 2005, and before that we were on 6th Street, so been in Redmond over 11 years now. Similar story to other people. We moved here, vacationed here. I moved here without a job, wanted to raise my family in Central Oregon, and the place that we used, the property management that we used, ended up showing us a place in Redmond. We decided to rent there first to get our lay of the land. Figured I'd be commuting to Bend, figured I'd be working in Bend. Got a job in Redmond, eventually bought that firm, and it's been great. I've never regretted it, and it was meant to be. I love this community. So from that standpoint, I'm glad it has worked out that way. Political background, you may or may not know, I was on the Redmond City Council from 2006 to 2010. I decided to step away in 2010 and not rerun, just so I could have some more time with the family. It is a big time commitment, but as I found when I stepped away, I missed it terribly. And everyone seemed to encourage me to get back into it, except for the 3 people I lived with. So I had to do some convincing, and now we are at this point. Actually, I got appointed to Ed Vallero's spot after he had to step away this year, and so I'm currently on the council serving out the end of his term, which ends the end of this year, and then I decided I knew I was going to run again sometime, and why not now? So that's why I'm here. As far as what I'm involved with in the community, I'm on the board for the Chamber of Commerce, I'm on the board for Redmond Economic Development, and I'm on the board for Economic Development for Central Oregon, EDCO. As you can see by that, I have a real passion for business. It is definitely an area that I feel is extremely important to every community, but definitely Central Oregon as a whole. Why am I running? I have a strong interest in staying involved with the future of Redmond, and I feel like I do represent downtown businesses because I'm down there. I'm also attending the Redmond Downtowners Association meetings on a regular basis, and my connections with Reddy and EDCO. I feel that there's a lot there. My kids are in the Redmond School District. One goes to Ridgeview and one goes to Redmond High, so we have a house divided at this point, which has been interesting this year, that's for sure. I feel that I'll continue to be a positive force. That is who I am. I don't tend to dwell on the negatives of things. I always feel like there's good in every situation, and we can find that if we work towards it. I believe through my training and all that, and being an accountant, I'm very thoughtful about analyzing situations. I am not someone who makes a snap decision about anything. If you watch a council meeting, you'll see that I'm not the guy up there just talking to hear myself talk. When I have something to say, it's because I've thought about it and really believe that it is impactful for that particular discussion, and that's who I am. I believe it's important for everybody to be doing their part. I believe that we need to work towards public-private partnerships in all aspects, business-wise and volunteer organizations like this, that we are constantly working together towards that common goal of making Redmond amazing. Lastly, I'll just say that I feel that I can use my experience to continue to do a great job for Redmond and to continue to make this community phenomenal. Thank you.
It's kind of like an acceptance speech in a way, because when the band starts to play is when you're done. So, we're not at the Oscars, and I just want you to know a little bit about Ginny McPherson. And my husband and I were transferred here. My husband's a pastor here in town, and we were transferred here 15 years ago. So we have seen a lot of change in Redmond. We have a daughter who came to Redmond when she was 18 years old and ended up staying and schooling in Central Oregon. She's now married and has 2 children and 1 on the way. I must say, those are the joys of my life. I love those kids beyond, and you know, you do. I've worked in a couple of different avenues. I've taught school and was a school administrator in a private school. I worked in neurology for 10 years as an EEG technician, but since I've been here in Redmond, I've co-pastored with my husband the entire time. And if you know anything about pastoring, it's a very similar in a lot of ways to being in social work. And we do have a lot of people that come in and are in need of help, and different variety of help. And I consider that an asset for me, for the city, simply because I'm one of those kind of people that can listen and to help solve the problem. But as Joe said, even for him, I'm not very quick to jump in and do all these conversations, but I think through things. And I've noticed I'm on the Redmond Budget Committee for the last 2 years, and I'm on Downtown Urban Renewal Advisory Committee for the last year. And I try really hard to do the very thing that I'm just saying, that I listen and hear, and if I have something to say about that situation, that I might be a help in that. I have a passion for Redmond. I love it here. It is my home. And I want to see it prosper. And in order for that to happen, I really think we need to concentrate and put a lot of effort behind economic development. And I know you hear that over and over again, but I think that is the crux of what's going on. There isn't a week that doesn't go by that I might have someone in my office that's saying that they're moving out of Central Oregon because they've lost their job and can't get another one. And so I'd love to see large business come in, because large business will feed small business. And that's the way we can get things going. I think we have an amazing group of people with Ready, EDCO, and the Chamber that are constantly moving towards these prospects. There was just a statistic that just stymied me when I heard it, and that 66 prospects, 66 leads to 1 prospect. That's amazing. That's a lot of work. 66 leads for 1 prospect of a business coming into Redmond. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm not afraid of hard work. And I think that the City Council is doing a phenomenal job, and I would just like to be a part in continuing that. I don't want to sit on a board and not be involved. And I think that that's going to be a strength of mine, is to be able to be involved in the things of Redmond, big and small. It doesn't have to be only the large projects. I also want to see a lot of things happen for our families. You know, I have vested interest in that with grandchildren here. I want to see them stay and be in a community that's safe, and there are a lot of things for them to do that are healthy things for them to do. I think it's phenomenal the things that the Downtown Urban Renewal Advisory Committee has done with the skating rink, Centennial Park. You know, all that was part of Durac and the council and getting those things moving. What a wonderful core we have, and we can develop the downtown core even more. And there's the song, so there you go.
Camden?
Oh, since Father Time over there wouldn't give me an introduction, I'm going to read my own. I'm a 4th generation Redmondite. I'm currently on City Council. I've lived in Central Oregon since I was in grade school. I graduated from Willamette University with a degree in business economics, and I currently own and run an executive search firm here in Redmond and have since 2001. Prior to being elected to City Council, I was on the Planning Commission. I was also the president of the downtown group at the time, and also on Durac. I'm married for 16 years, and I have 3 daughters. There we go. So people always want to know why you want to run for City Council. Some will question my sanity, which is certainly a valid question, but the answer is actually very simple. It's because I truly enjoy it, and there's been some people that told me I'm good at it. I think that you know, it's an awesome responsibility. It's very humbling, but I think back over the last few years and all of the things that have happened. It's really It's really staggering, and it's great, awesome to be a part of it. And yet, as far as we've come, I think there's still a long way to go. And I sit here and I feel like we're at 211 degrees, and this place is just about ready to boil. I mean, I can just feel it. All right, so clearly there's a number of issues facing our community. I think that if I'm fortunate enough to be reelected, I want to focus on three primary areas. One is the continuation of the revitalization of downtown. Second is job creation and economic development. But the third is taking a look internally at our services and if we can streamline those processes. I think if we look at those three categories, some of the other issues that we're facing kind of become a little easier to deal with. I do feel that the downtown and cultural center is vital to a vibrant community. I think that people, when they're looking and evaluating cities, they look and say, hey, how's your downtown? It ends up being the litmus test. Right now, we're in the second phase of our urban renewal district plan, and what that is we're working for public-private partnerships to develop jobs and bring businesses into our core. Right now, we already have a plan in place, and it's flexible. It's a great plan. It's going to bring our civic center and build that and entice businesses into our core, and I would like to be around to help implement that plan. Surprise! Clearly, everybody recognizes the needs for diverse, higher-paying jobs around here, and I agree wholeheartedly. But I sit here and I think it feels like we've set this enticing table here in our community, and it's just a matter of people coming up and eating. We're there. We're on the cusp. And through my involvement with Ready and the Chamber of Commerce, we've been able to successfully help existing businesses expand and bring other ones in. I think it's just a matter of time before our economic water boils. It's not if, it is actually when we become the business center for Central Oregon. But I think we need to look internally as well as externally. Budgets have been tight. I think we've done a good job, but as stewards of the taxpayers' dollar, I think we owe it to our citizens to look at ourselves and see how we can improve our efficiency. I think we need to look at sustainable energy practices internally. I think we need to look at consolidating some services in a manner conceptually like what we did with the fire district. I think that there's opportunities to privatize some of our operations, and I think I would cite Juniper as an example of successfully doing that. The key here is to not decrease service levels and not to lose control. If either of those happen, I don't think it works very well. But I do think that we need to take a look at all of our options. So in conclusion, I'm passionate, I am committed to this community. I think if we take a look and drive our downtown, revitalize it, build economic engines and create jobs, and we look at how to streamline our own processes, that, well, I just want to make sure that the fifth generation of Kings here in Redmond has a great place that they can feel proud of, and we can all feel proud of, more proud of in the future. My name's Camden King, and I approve this message.
Thank each of you. We have about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A, and so first question.
I'm Bob. I've been here just 3 years now from Valley. But the thing I've learned is there's been all these companies that were once here. Textronics, I understand, was here once. Airplane manufacturing, motor coach manufacturing. Of course, the lumber industry used to be here. So I'm wondering if, my question is, are we putting as much effort into growing what we have and making opportunities for what we have to grow as much energy as we are in trying to bring new people in?
Yes.
Yes, and all of that.
I'll jump in there, and Centennial can certainly concur with all of this. Working with Redmond Economic Development, John Stark, the bulk of his work, I shouldn't say bulk, more than half, 2/3 is probably working with existing businesses and how to grow and expand and increase the capital investments and obviously do jobs. Frankly, you get a little bit bigger bang for the buck working with established businesses here, because the conversion of projects is much higher, something like 90%, versus going out and trying to recruit and bring in new businesses. So the answer to your question is yes. I don't know the Tektronix story, but I will say that things like Babe Ruth coaches and the airplane industry, I mean, those are all kind of luxury, high-end stuff, and I think we've all been around for the last 3-4 years and know what the economy's done. So there's some things beyond your control, but I will say that John Stark does a tremendous job. I have a lot of faith in the guy.
I agree with that, and I really believe that we need to work harder with the businesses that are existing and look at the structure of what they're contributing to the community and in reference to their taxes and all of that thing as well. Because I think that we give a lot of breaks to new companies coming in, and what about the businesses that are struggling here? So we need to look at that as well.
I mostly agree with what Ken said, and mostly agree with what Ginny said. You know, our enterprise zones offer incentives to businesses that exist that want to grow and develop, and there are certain conditions they have to meet to do that as well. And certainly, I encourage any business owner to look into that if you're wanting to grow, how that can help you. I think there's more we can do, but John Stark is a tireless champion for businesses in this community and businesses that might want to move to this community. And certainly, in my grand vision, we would see the city's partnership with Reddy and him grow even more, because if we ever lost that partnership, I think Redmond would have some serious internalizing to do and figure out how we're going to grow going forward.
Nobody realizes, I don't think, how much goes on behind the scenes with Reddy and Edco. And it's not just Reddy. John does a phenomenal job for Redmond, but if he didn't have his relationship with Edco for all of Central Oregon and the connections that are made there, you know, he wouldn't be as effective as he is. He's one guy, and we've already seen that he's strapped with the amount of leads he has and things like that. But he does focus on retention expansion projects, and there are a lot of things right now that are happening in Redmond specifically, but all of Central Oregon, where there are companies that were here that have just exploded, and people don't realize it because it doesn't get publicized that much. I mean, it'd be a great story, but a lot of this stuff, there's confidentiality and a lot of that that has to be kept, and I wish we could share so much more of it early on. But that is a reality, but it is happening right now. Just so you know, there is some great things that are happening, and John is buried. He is so busy. They're about to hire an assistant, which was part of the whole thing with the discussion with the city last budget season, and he needs it. He needs it because he's so busy with this stuff. So.
Yeah, I will echo everything that's been said. It all makes good sense. John's doing a great job. I've had discussion with John about finding a way to help him. Whether I'm elected or not, I'm going to get involved in the future recruitment of business, and it's the kind of thing I've done and could contribute to Redmond, whether or not I'm elected. I think the city, I looked over recently the budget. I'm not convinced we actually contribute enough to that effort personally. Might be something I would look into.
I got a question. Is there something that you all have done to preserve the people that are here, to get through this mess that we're in, that the administration has done to us?
Which administration?
Yeah.
Hospital administration.
I need to say which one.
Well, I bought a home and I didn't quibble on the price. That helps. But I've also joined the Planning Commission. We're working at preparing for, as you've heard, what is coming in the restoration of economic growth in this area. And I think you'll see, based on the work that's being done, future development in Redmond will be more aesthetically pleasing and preserve, and quite consciously we're all trying to preserve the nature of our environment that attracted us all here. So,
As I mentioned when I went over my time a little bit, one of my grand causes is fighting to preserve the affordability of living here. And I kind of took that upon myself in challenging the city with the water deposits recently, and that's something that I will always do, elected or not. I know very, very much how the administration has affected families in Redmond and all around the country. I was unemployed for 1.5 years before my wife and I decided if we were going to make a go out of living here, we were going to have to do it on our own. And largely, I'm a small government guy, and I believe that that's the right way to go in most cases, but certainly there's a lot of things our city government can do. Making sure we don't make it hard to live here, making sure we don't make it hard to do business here are two things that I'll always make sure that when I vote on a proposal or an ordinance, that those are forefront of my mind.
And I can say that if you just want a personal issue here too, I was instrumental in starting a nonprofit here for the uninsured City Care Clinic. I'm on their board of directors right now and went through all of the government and state regulations to form that nonprofit. And what that serves is the uninsured. Now, we will get people that are multiple degree that are out of work to people on the street that don't have health care. And we have seen several thousand people over the last few years. So I know personally the hurts of the people in this town and in others. And we're trying just to take a little bit of a bite. We have a coalition of people that are trying to work with people that are in need. So that's just on a personal level of something that I have been doing for the last 3 years.
Any questions?
The downtown, are you working toward, what's the word, diversifying the business? As an older person, I find nothing downtown that I would even shop down there because most of the stores now are for the younger kids. And we just need different businesses downtown. Are you working on that, or EDCO working on that, or?
EDCO and Ready don't really focus on commercial business. It tends to follow the people, and I made the statement in the paper a few questions ago if you've been following the spokesman, but it's a real tough thing with the downtown specifically, but as a town in general, you know, the businesses don't want to move in until there's people. And the people don't want to go downtown until there's businesses. So you end up with that whole chicken and egg thing that everyone is fighting against. I feel like what we're trying to do, what we've done in the past, was trying to make it as attractive as possible from a city standpoint as we can. I was, you know, a big part of the Centennial celebration, a big part of pushing Centennial Park to be what it is today, to again draw people. And when you have people, you're going to have businesses that are interested in being there because they have to make a living. You know, nobody can afford to open a business and have one customer a day. So that's the challenge. And I feel like Redmond is doing a lot to at least what we can control. There's facade improvement programs to make it look better. You know, there's those kinds of things. So yeah, I do feel like we're trying.
Just to kind of piggyback on yes, and you know, and I think I said this before too. You create all of these incentives, you create the opportunity. There's some build it and they will come. I think we've got, you know, truly was an infrastructure project what we did downtown, but we put plenty of frosting on that cake, and that's what people see and that's what people like. We have an arch that's becoming iconic. That said, you can leave the old horse to water, you can shove his head under the surface and he still might come up thirsty. We can't make people start businesses in there. I think what needs to happen, and I'm rewinding several years when I was involved with the Redmond Downtown Partnership, we had an executive director whose task was kind of to play mini city manager, looking at the mix of businesses. What's the proper mix? What's the proper location? Proactively, we're just getting on the cusp of being able to do some of these things, really managing events, driving events, new events, coordinating events, but recruiting proper business mixes, I say, from a Main Street, there's a methodology, downtown methodology called Main Street, that employ that to how you can build up a downtown. At some point we might need to take a look at how we can put that sort of a function back in place. I know there's a fledgling downtowners organization right now, but I think that coordination, group effort, and strategic direction is probably what's needed.